Hi there! Welcome back to the channel. So, if you follow the channel at all, you know I built this guitar about a year ago. This is a BYOGuitar Flying V kit. I built it about a year ago and I've had many struggles with it. If you'll notice today, the guitar is naked. It no longer has the Duesenberg trim. I ended up taking it off because I could not get the guitar to work with it. For whatever reason, it just wouldn't work correctly on the guitar. I couldn't get it to stay in tune. I couldn't get the Duesenberg to sit properly on the guitar. And I'm going to chalk it up to user error because I think that the trim unit works fine and I think it would work fine on another guitar. But for whatever reason, it just didn't sync up with this axe. I don't know why. It could have been because I was using 11 gauge strings and it was just like too much for it. I don't know. But it was like picking it way up and I could not get it to work satisfactorily. But along the way, on the way to rock and roll heaven, I discovered that Flying V's, at least this one, and it may be because it has a shorter neck tenon, this is like a 50s style build, and I used hide glue, who knows, I don't know why, but it has like a natural trim system between the body and the neck, so you can kind of like get some trim going by just kind of pressing on the guitar, which is a much easier way to get trim from this, because every time I was using the Duesenberg, it would go out of tune to the point where I could not get through a track or through a song like live, you know. So the Duesenberg was removed, and I have to say the guitar is finally playing, you know, sufficiently since the removal of the Duesenberg. So it's finally staying in tune. It's intonating. That was another thing. I could not. So let me just go through the litany of issues that I've had with the guitar. All right. So I bought the guitar as a kit. I used wood tone stain on it, which went beautifully. I love wood tone stain, and I really like this company, BYOGuitar. They're really nice people, and I think they sell good stuff. I'm not as big into kit guitars anymore. I'm more moved towards parts casters, and like if I was to do a Gibson style build, I would probably try to find a Gibson body, you know, like a stripped body, and then maybe add the parts to it in that way, as opposed to building another kind of Gibson style body. I think that as far as building guitars go, the parts caster thing is just much easier to manage than these sort of odd funky body shapes with set necks. That if I was selling kits, I think I would much prefer to sell parts casters than like Gibson type kits that are complicated to build and have these crazy body shapes and rake angles and whatnot. So that's what coming in, I think it's already a challenge because of those reasons. This has super cheapy tuners on it that aren't very good. I just haven't upgraded them yet because I didn't know if the guitar was going to survive or not and become a player, or if it was just going to become like an experience that I would point to as, yeah, I built this, but it's not very playable. Luckily, I don't think that's going to be the case. So I had the tuners were no good, and I could tell they were like lame. So I actually went down to 9 gauge strings. I went from NYXL 1152s, which is what I play on Stratocasters and Les Pauls, and I went all the way down to 946. 942. And I also play 1046. I'm going to try a set of 10s now that I've got it working with the 9s. It felt kind of like a relief to get the 11s off. Because the original reason that I was worried about the guitar is that when I upgraded the nut, it came with a really cheap garbage plastic nut. I removed that and put a Tusk nut on, which I love. It sounds great. When I was stringing up the guitar, this E string kept popping out, just jump out, inexplicably. I did a lot of research on it, and it turns out that this rake angle is very extreme. And who knows, the routing of this could have been slightly off, just enough to create an issue. The other issue that I noticed, and I've brought this up in another video before, is that I was always trying to line the nut up when I was putting it on, gluing it into place, you know, and making sure my spacing was correct and everything. I was trying to line the nut up with the binding, right? Which is the logical thing to do. Well, the more I started looking at it, the more I realized that the binding had been cut at like a downward angle. So when I was trying to line it up, I was actually kind of pushing the nut at a weird angle, and it wasn't really sitting flush here. So I did a little light sanding here to try to level this out, reinstalled the nut, and this time it's flush up against the fretboard as opposed to trying to be straight with this piece of binding here. There's like a little slight kind of weird looking gap, but it works correctly now. The next step, the next thing that happened is I never could get the Duesenberg, to work correctly. I couldn't get it to intonate, could not get it to intonate, no matter what I did. So I replaced the stock bridge that came with it. These are routed like a metric routing, so it's like Epiphone parts. So I upgraded by getting the metric routed, larger post, Goto, or I'm sorry, this is a TonePros, which is made by Goto, I believe. TonePros bridge, locking bridge. And that has been a huge upgrade, because what it does is it locks down to the post. You have like these little Allen screws here, and you tighten them up right here. And then you can adjust your bridge height with just a basic simple screwdriver. But once you've got it adjusted, you then tighten up these Allen screws, and this baby's locked down, it's not moving. Which really helped with the Duesenberg, because I noticed one day when the trim was on there, when I pressed it down, I could see the whole bridge rocking forward. When I brought it up, rocking back, rocking forward, rocking back. Once I put the TonePros locking bridge on there, boom, like tight. Now the strings are just going back and forth the way they should, as opposed to the bridge moving. So that was a big upgrade. This is the original stop piece that the game came with the guitar. I might get a Goto or something just to upgrade that. And I'll probably do the Goto tuners as well. If not Goto, all parts, because they sell them locally at American Guitar Boutique for like 30 bucks or something. That wouldn't be too expensive of an upgrade. And the tuners are fine now, especially with 9s, but when you put heavier gauge strings, I think it has plastic gears and you can just feel it grinding and just nasty. So yeah, I just didn't want to sink any more money into it if it wasn't going to be a real player for me, a real live player. And I think it is. So, took the Duesenberg off, I fixed this nut issue. We'll do tunings, but I'm getting good tuning stability, and the tuners are okay. They work. I like the pickups, Guitar Madness pickups. These were like 29 bucks shipped for the two of them, and they sound really cool. And I thought about maybe putting a humbucker in here just because it's a V. That might happen in the future, who knows. Maybe 2 humbuckers with silver covers. I think that would look nice if I wanted to go the humbucker route. The electronics or switchcraft, all that is good. Everything there is excellent. The last problem I was having is I still could not get the thing to stay in tune. So I relaxed the neck a little bit just to get a little relief here. I've got that exactly where I want it. And what I did with this bridge that really worked. Now, when I was trying to intonate with the Duesenberg, I had to slam the bridge all the way to the back, every string, and still it was like a little off as far as intonation. It was always sharp. So like you would play the note here, and it would be an E, and you'd come down to the 12th fret, and it'd always be sharp every time, no matter what, like a little bit, a half step or something, every time. And so that was annoying. With the Duesenberg off, I was able to get a better rake angle. You can see this stop piece is down lower than the Duesenberg was. The Duesenberg was like half that. It's like up a little bit higher, where the strings entered the holes was higher. So you didn't get as good of a rake angle. Now, what I did, I loosened up, I just gave a little bit of neck relief, right, to start all this. A little bit of neck relief, because it felt a little tight. A little bit of neck relief. Then, I loosened up these Allen screws, right, so that I could adjust the bridge. I'm already slammed all the way across the guitar. And I was and these 3 strings here, the high 3 strings, the E string, the B string, and the G string, were all intonating, they were almost dead on. So I knew I was okay on this side. But on this side, I just came down a little and worked my way down almost all the way to the bottom position, checking intonation at each step, you know, checking each step, screwed it down a little bit more, finally locked it in. Boom! Finally, the guitar intonates, at least intonates enough to not go out of key when I play like a power chord or something down here. You know, it's like... that kind of thing. Or like... you just want it to be in tune so it doesn't sound like garbage. Waving all the time, making all these terrible sounds. So anyway, I think I finally have a playable axe, and I'm really stoked because I was starting to look at buying a Gibson, because that's the guitar I really ultimately will probably get. I'll probably end up with a Gibson Flying V. I've always wanted one. But now that this is playing, I've been able to cool that fever down a little bit. You know, that was starting to heat up, and I've been able to cool that down and just focus on the guitars I already have. My wonderful Strat, which I love. That's my main guitar that I'm going to be playing. And I just wanted to have the Gibson sound covered. I've already got the Fender sound. That's my other main sound that I love. Those two types of sounds, the Strat and then the Gibson tone. So let's just see what it sounds like. I think, let me just see if it's in tune. And see, that alone is a huge accomplishment. I could rarely get this guitar in tune and be playing it and like set it down on a stand and come back to an hour later and play a D chord and have it be in tune. That wasn't happening. And both guitars were torturing me around the same time period. And what was really interesting and what was really cool is that I was able to learn from what got the Strat going, which was a trim claw adjustment, but once again it was a tension thing. You know, that's what these guitars, it's tension. And you just got to get the right balance of tension so that you get the right amount of pull for intonation and tuning stability. And I kind of used the same sort of mentality, the same thought process that I had learned from the Strat with the V. So that's kind of exciting to see some of my experiences starting to help me with other guitars. Like there's some spillover, knowledge spillover now. Starting to get some intuitive sense of ways to solve problems, you know, which is exciting. So let's see what happens here. tone by pulling on the wing. So it's like... go down by pushing on where the neck and the body come together, join. I really like that. Now, I don't know if that's the case with Gibson flying these. I have no idea. It could be because this has a shorter tenon. It's like the 50s body, like I said. I don't know why. And I used hide glue. It may be like, but I'm assuming it would work on any V. So, yeah, no need for trim, built-in trim. So, yeah, I'm excited. I think this guitar is now playable and usable both live and in the studio, and I think I might have written a song on it today. After I got it going, I had something kind of pop for me, so I'm hoping that if that's the case, this one will go on record. So anyway, thanks for watching, and if you've got one of these kits, hang in there, man. Don't give up, because, man, I've given up on this thing like multiple times, like decided not playable, forget it, you know, what a loser. Because, like I said, it's all user error. Nothing against Duesenberg, nothing against kit guitars or BYOGuitar. It's me, right? I'm a beginner. I'm not a luthier. I'm a rocker. I'm just a guy that wants to do things, you know, because I'm impatient. I'm not like a professional. So I'm going to assume that when things go wrong, it's me screwing up. I don't want you to get the wrong idea about any of these companies if I tell you I'm not going to use the product or whatever. It just didn't work for me for whatever reason. And it's user error. It's nothing wrong with the products, because the more I learn, the more things I try and have work for me, the more I realize that it's just a process of learning, and that most of the things that were going wrong was because I did something wrong, not because there's something wrong with the guitar or with the trim system or with the this or that. You know, it's usually user error. So anyway, keep learning, right? Next time.